The first miracle recorded in the New Testament is in John chapter 2, where Jesus turns water to wine. But we can probably assume that this isn't Jesus's first miracle that he had ever done in his life. And I say that because of the conversation between he and his mom. Like, there's such a closeness there. It actually cracks me up. It's so relatable. And it just kind of illustrates how his mother knew that he could perform the miraculous. This is just the first recorded miracle. And it's even before he had started doing his real loud public ministry. And I just love the closeness of it. I'm just going to read it quick. John chapter 2, 1-5. On the third day, there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Now both Jesus and his disciples were invited to the wedding. And when they ran out of wine, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour is not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever he says to you, do it." I just love this. His mother doesn't, she doesn't say like, "Jesus, what are we going to do? Like, can you help?" Oh, and she doesn't, she just presumptuously looks at him and says to him, "They have no wine. Like, do your thing." I just love this. It literally just cracks me up because when he responds to her like such a son, he's just like, okay. He's like, "My hour has not yet come," because again, his public ministry hadn't begun like that. And he's not referring to my hour as the crucifixion alone, but his entire public ministry, which included, I said loud, what I mean, like obvious public miracles, as healings and all these things, hadn't begun yet. And this isn't even necessarily this isn't even a miracle of necessity. It's more like a service. You know what I mean? His mother saw that there was a need for others, a service to the bridal party, and she knows that he can take care of it. She knows it, and we could tell that by the way she says it. She doesn't ask him. She's his mom. She knows her kid, and she's just like, "They have no wine." Like, can you just like visualize it? Like, I go into this whole movie in my head, and I just love it. They have no wine, and he looks at her, and he's like, "Okay, what you want me to do about it?" And the funny thing is, even after that, she doesn't say anything back to him. She's not like, you know what I mean? She doesn't make suggestions. The conversation's over after they have no wine. Like, it's just like when your mom tells you, like, clean your room. Like, that conversation's over. You know what I mean? Like, you could say what you want, but you're going to clean your room. So he gives her this rebuttal. He's like, "What does that have to do with me? Like, my hour hasn't come yet." And then his mother just doesn't even acknowledge his comment. She just looks to the servants and says, "Whatever he says to you, do it." I just love this so much because, again, we can assume that, he probably did miracles as a child, as a teenager. It's such a tragedy that we don't know more about his life growing up. But I have these little movie moments in my head with certain conversations because they're so telling. This is such a close conversation between a mother and a son. And she knows her son. They grew up together. Of course, she knew who he was since birth, but who knew the entirety of what he could do? Can you imagine the first time he ever did a miracle? I mean, he was a son. He was her son. And he was I'm going to go on a limb here and say he was a good son. And when, you have this ability, like, who knows, at some point, maybe he was testing it out or learning as a child, and did something. Maybe his parents, who were not rich folk, had a need sometime, and he did it. You know what I mean? And it was never some big thing. His parents didn't go running out and telling everyone, it was just between them. And of course, it was never, probably not excessive. I mean, Jesus wasn't prideful. His family weren't, the prerogative was not to be rich, of course, you know what I mean? And even here in this miracle, this wasn't for them. Who knows if they did other miracles or if he performed other miracles for others growing up. But we can almost assuredly assume that is the case because, again, she doesn't ask him. She's not like, "Jesus, can we do anything?" And this is the first miracle in the New Testament. It's the first time. And we would assume that if this was his first miracle ever in life, that she would have been like, "What do we do?" Or, "Can you help at all?" Or I mean, he didn't own a vineyard, you know what I mean? Like, she knew he was going to do something supernatural. And I just love it. I love the whole closeness of it. She's like, they have no wine. He kind of gives a little rebuttal, and then she just like looks away and she says to the servants, whatever he says to you, do it. Like she knows something's about to go down. She prepares the servants, and our Lord does not argue back. He's so perfect and excellent. He just goes ahead and does it. I just love this.